Okay, I guess we'll begin. Perek Shlishi. We're holding Pirkei Avot Perek Shlishi, the third Perek, the first Mishnah. There is an apparent connection between the end of Perek Bet, the last Mishnah, and this first Mishnah. Towards the end of Perek Bet, we covered a very important point, and that is the value of time. Time is the most precious commodity. We don't have that much of it. 70, 80 years. Some people don't even make it to that. So Rabbi Tarfon reminds us that Azman katzar v'melacha meruba. The time is short and there's so much work to do. There's so much to accomplish. Accomplishment, of course, we're talking about the Jewish nation. We're talking about mitzvot and ma'asim, the observance of the Torah, carrying out good deeds, contributing in a meaningful way. And there are many distractions. There are many things that occupy our time. Some are necessary. We eat, we pay bills, we have kids, we raise them, we go to school. This is all part of life. Nonetheless, it's important to focus on what is more important and what is less important. And that is a trick. In other words, that is not easy. That takes a tremendous amount of diligence. It takes a certain amount of focus. And one who does not learn obviously is lost because he does not become aware of the importance of time and what needs to be done with that time. So that's how we finished Perek Bet. It was also mentioned that this effort, all this effort that's being invested in doing Hashem's will, all of the hard work will be rewarded. We should not forget that this reward, however, is le'atid lavo, in the future, in olam haba, in the world to come, because one may become perhaps disappointed, distressed with the fact that he works so hard, and here he's struggling. He's struggling financially, he's struggling with all kinds of issues in life, and here he's trying to be a good Jew. He's trying to be a devoted Jew. He's trying to learn as much as possible. So we are always reminded that, yes, there will be a reward, but this reward for the most part is in the world to come. But there is reward. So here, in Mishnah Aleph, Akavya b'mahalalel omer, histakel b'shlosha dvarim v'yeh אתה בא לידי עבירה. It appears to be that he's saying something, of course, on his own. He's reminding us that life is full of dangers that lurk on the outside, trying to interfere with our goal, or whatever we're trying to accomplish. There's a lot of yetzer hara out there. And therefore he advises, contemplate, look at the following three things, v'yeh אתה בא לידי עבירה, and you will not come so easily to sin. It's not a guarantee 100%. The yetzer hara is always ready to ambush us. He doesn't take time off. He works overtime. But if one focuses on the following three things, they may help him. They're definitely worth thinking about because they're powerful. What is he telling us? In other words, what exactly is the message over here? The message is that because time is so precious and because time is necessary for us to accomplish what we need to accomplish, Akavya says, I want to teach you, I want to remind you that there is something out there that will interfere with your time, that will try to remove you from being focused on what you really need to do. And I want to therefore help you how to control that, how to not allow that impediment, that which disturbs us, that which gets in the way so much, how to control it, how to not allow it to control you. And that is by focusing on the following. Da me'ayin bata, ule'an ata holech, v'lifnei mi ata atil litem v'cheshbon. Focus on where you come from. Think about it. Where you came from. How did you happen to be born and arrive in this world? Where are you headed after you're done with this world? And before whom will you be giving an accounting, a reckoning of all your ma'asim? Think about these topics. Think about these issues from time to time. And it's not only from time to time. He's really saying this, think about it on a regular basis. In other words, it should not escape your mind. Because if you think about it, it will help you in many ways. So, where do we come from? Me'ayin bata mitipas rucha. Where do we come from? From a nothing, a drop. Ule'an ata holech, and where are we headed? B'makom afar rima v'tole'ah. We're going to a place of worms, a place where the body will decay. And where are we headed after that? You mean there's something after that? Yeah, sure. Life does not stop there. It's a different kind of life. It's a different dimension. The neshama continues to exist. The human being is not completely gone and disappears, just his body. But he, at the end, will have to give an accounting for all that he has done or not done in this world. And that accounting will be before whom? It's before the King of all kings. The King that you cannot bribe. Right? The King that knows everything. So these are very, as they say in English, sober thoughts. These are very, very serious ideas to think about, and they're supposed to help us. And how are they going to help us? This obstacle that we call Yetzer Hara, and it has other names, basically what it does, if we can say it in a nutshell, is try to get us not to listen to our Creator, to avoid focusing on our duties, to avoid thinking about our goal, our purpose in life. That's what the Yetzer Hara is trying to do. And that, of course, as a result of that, that leads one to Avirah. That leads one to sin. Why is that? What does one thing have to do with another? You don't listen to God. Does that mean you're going to sin? I mean, when we think about sin, we think about the worst kinds of sins. It doesn't have to be the worst kinds of sins. It can be even smaller sins. The point is, when a person is not connected, he does not listen to the Boreh, it's not just that he's not listening, he's not connected. And when a person is not connected, I mean, his mind is not occupied with the real things. He has to fill his mind with something. Look at the non-Jewish world, and look at the Jewish world. The Jewish world tonight, Baruch Hashem, many thousands of Jews were at a Siyum Hashas, tremendous event where they listened to speeches, where they heard the Kaddish, where they were motivated to begin on their own to learn Shas, all the volumes of the Gemara over 7.5 years. Tremendous event, tremendous spiritual uplifting event. What is the Goy doing at this time? Look at their life. They better fill it with something. They can't just go crazy and boring. I mean, they do with TV, entertainment, they go out to eat. That's all. Think about the difference between them and us. And unfortunately, you do have many Jews that live a life of a non-Jew. There's no content in their life. Something is missing. It's empty. So they got to fill it. You got to fill it with something. You can't just sit around and do nothing. How long can you suntan outside before you burn up? I mean, suntan, right? Swim. Okay, got to do something. Got to find something. So look at the difference in what a Jew does with his time and what a Goy does with his time. They both have to fill their time. So the point here is very, very, very important point, that if one is not connected to Hashem, in other words, he doesn't follow the mitzvot, he doesn't have a regular, healthy schedule of tefillah and Torah, then he may come to Avirah. So therefore, when he says, istakel, mishlosha dvarim, look at these three things, what he means is that this will get you back in line. This will get you back to focus. Sometimes we lose our focus. We're only human. We become distracted. Other things take up our time. Or somebody who is not learning at all, completely distant from Judaism. For him too, this is very valuable. Think a little bit about it, And if you think about these ideas, it will make you stay out of trouble. It will hopefully say to you, wait a minute, where am I headed? What is life all about? What am I doing? Right? In other words, it will get someone to begin to think, and that's what unfortunately not too many people are doing. They're not thinking. It's very easy to become distracted and to be pulled away from reality. There is a very, very funny saying, true saying, that many of you I'm sure have heard. If something is too good to be true, what's the rest of it?
Probably is. It probably is.
No, just opposite.
No, if it's too good to be true, it probably is too good to be true.
It's not true.
Probably is right.
If it's something too good to be true, then it's not true.
Right.
It's a lie. It's an exaggeration. Do you know how many things are like that in life? Whether it's in advertisements, whether it's in the mail, whatever, regardless. People People are promised, people are told, people are, they're trying to be convinced by something, whatever it is, a vacation, to buy something, a car, and the deal sounds great. 0 down. No payment for the next 3 years. What's that? Car. I'm talking about a car. Have you heard of something like that? So they tell you, well, you have to read the fine print. Why put it in fine print? Why not in big bold letters? Because it's sheker. If you see the big bold letters, you won't want to buy. So they hide the information from you in the fine print. This world, look at the world. Olam sheker. Sheker, they put it in fine print. $14.99. Come on, just write $15. $14.99. What's that all about? No, it's closer to 14. No, it's not. It's closer to 15. But somehow they tell you, the experts tell you, it's better to write $14.99 than writing 15. But that's sheker. I mean, that's not exactly sheker, but it's a way of misleading you, getting you, enticing you. So that is why if something is too good to be true, don't fall in the trap. How many people fall in the trap? It's too good. It can't be. And if you investigate it, I assure you, all kinds. There's no end to it. I can list you all kinds of examples in the mail and all kinds of things where they call you up. Oh, if you come to this thing, if you come to this interview, or this presentation, 3 nights free at a 5-star hotel at the date of your choice, except for some blackout dates. It turns out most of the year is blackout dates, but anyway. Yeah. 5-star hotel. All you got to do, what do I got to do? Is just come and hear a presentation. And over there, you know what these presentations are all about. Timeshare. They try to sell you. And they put a lot of pressure. But they promise you gifts and all kinds of things. And at the end, what do they give you? Oh, you can't travel here, you can't do this, you can't do that. Had you known everything, you wouldn't have gone. And where do you have to go to? To Orange County, of course. It's not around the corner. So you have to drive an hour there and an hour back and waste all this time. Anyway, this olam is olam ha-sheker. Don't forget that. There's a lot of sheker going out there. So this Yetzer Hara gorer otanu. He's dragging us in that direction. And that's what happens. A lot of things appear to be too good to be true, and therefore they're not true. And that is the same thing with all kinds of things, that we should not put too much emphasis on them because it's not the ikar. In Ilchot Berachot, there's something called ikar and tafel. You're eating an ice cream sandwich. What's a sandwich of ice cream? It has 2 cookies and there's ice cream in between. What beracha do you make? Mezonot or shakol? You have something called ikar and tafel. You're eating a bowl of cereal. There's milk and there is Cheerios. What are you going to make, a shakol or a mezonot? So in Ilchot Berachot, there's a concept called ikar and tafel. The main thing, what I want, what I really want, and that which is tafel. I've got to eat it, so there better be liquid in there. I got to eat. I can't just hold the ice cream with my hand, so I have it in a sandwich or in a cone. Do I really want the cone? Well, I eat it anyway. It's tasty. But it's not the cone that I want. It's not the cookies that I want. Now, sometimes you want both, so you're going to make 2 separate berachot. It all depends. I'm just throwing examples here, right? You have what's called baklava. So there's some mezonot there, but it's full of nuts and honey. But the honey is batel. It's just to hold together everything. So in the same way that there is something called ikar and tafel in berachot, there is in life ikar and tafel. Tafel doesn't mean it's nothing. Tafel just means it's secondary. It's not in first position. So it's important to know what is ikar and what is tafel. So by focusing on these 3 things, that Akavya b'mahalalel omer, where you come from, where you're headed, for whom you're going to give an account, what he does is as follows. The Yetzer's koach is in the physicality of the human beings. We're physical. Part of us is physical. And that's where the Yetzer Hara has the ability to seduce, to entice, to pull. People like good food. People like to rest and to sleep and to enjoy themselves. That's the pleasures of the flesh. And then what can you do? So the Yetzer Hara takes advantage of that. That's where he thrives. He has the ability to enthrall you, with all kinds of ideas on why something is so good for you. They're trying to make money these days on selling you acai. Have you heard of that juice? It comes from Brazil. This berry from the Amazons. Just drink it and you will lose 50 pounds in 1 week. 1 week? Wow. That's a pretty good thing. I'm exaggerating, of course. It could be 1 month, and maybe even more. Well, is it true? There's a lot of mahloket in this. How does it work? Well, one thing it could be true about it is that you may be so full of that juice that you have no appetite for other things. So therefore, you don't eat, and therefore you lose weight. But not that it's a miracle fruit like they say it. All right, fine. Let's say you can't go wrong. All it is, you're going to get vitamin C from it, antioxidants. So we should figure, it's not poison. Okay, so you go to buy it, $35 a bottle. But why $35 a bottle for this juice? Oh, it's expensive, imported, and concentrated. So what you see from this is, it's definitely not a Shem Shamayim for you to lose weight. That was not the idea of whoever put it together. Why is he doing it? To make money. So he has to find a reason to justify and to convince you to buy it. That's all it is. It's nothing more than that. That's the Yetzer. The Yetzer has to convince you why something is good for you, and it's unfortunately very easy for him. Very, very easy. There's a lot of good, tasty food out there. So what do? With this Mishnah, Kavya b'Mal Halalel says, you are able to strengthen the spiritual part of you, your neshama, by focusing on where the neshama is headed. First of all, you're depressing the body. How are you depressing the body? By telling it, what are you? You're from a tipas rucha and you're going to go to worms. Remember the Mishnah that we spoke about? Marbe basar, marbe rima. The more flesh you eat, the more food you give to the worms. When you tell somebody who's going over to his favorite dish at a wedding, Persian wedding, of course, yeah, and you see him grabbing a little bit of the choresh and a little bit of the gourmet sabzi, right? Yeah, and a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And you tell him, this is all going for the worms. Oh, you just took away my appetite. Yeah. But people don't think, So anyway, that's what happens. So this focus, this ideas of where you're headed and where you come from, it strengthens the neshama, it strengthens the ruchaniut, and at the same time it depresses the physical part of our body, but allowing us to think, and that's something that is very, very healthy. Think about it, and thinking about it is what really does it to weaken the Yetzer Hara. So what's the difference between this and the Mishnah before in Perek Bet that Rabbi tells us the same thing? Rabbi says in Perek Bet we already covered it. Very, very similar. Rabbi says, "Istakel b'shlosha dvarim v'yeh tabal lidei avera." Same words. Look at the following three. You will not come to sin. Da ma lemala mimcha. Know what's above you. Ayin ro'ah. An eye that sees all our actions, and ozen shomat, an ear that hears everything we say. All our words are documented, they're recorded. You can't get away with it. You can't hide. Wait a minute, so he told us, Rabbi already told us something very similar. Focus on three things. You won't come to sin, but they're a little bit different. Right? They're a little bit different than the three things over here. Here we're talking about three kinds of things that have to do with, Rima v'tole'ah, you're going to the grave. But it's very similar. Right? It tells us to focus on the afterlife. So what's the difference? Perhaps one explanation is as follows. Rabbi in Perek Bet, by telling us to focus on what's above us, he's attempting to be mechazek our emunah. The faith, people's emunah sometimes is very, very weak or weakened. And they forget about one of the most important principles in Judaism, Ikarei HaEmunah, and that is that there is reward and punishment. In other words, accountability for our actions. There's accountability. It's not a free life you have here. Hashem put us here. He gave us this beautiful gift called life. Do something productive with it. And everybody has a special talent. Everybody Hashem put here has a different mission. Make sure you maximize as best as you can. Whether we succeed or not, that's not up to us. That's up to Hashem, Siyata Deshmaya, up to Mazal. But we have to do everything in our ability. We have to make an effort. So here Rabbi is telling us, listen, there is Sachar Va'onesh. There is something called reward for the good deeds and punishment, or tikkun, however you want to call it, for that which was not done right. You know, when people misbehave here, it's like, imagine somebody Reuven invites Shimon to his house, and Shimon breaks one of the crystals. I mean, you're causing harm and damage to your host. When somebody here misbehaves and does something wrong, he's actually damaging the world of Hashem. Hashem says, please don't damage. Right? I put you down here to just build and contribute and reproduce, of course. Get married. Please be careful not to damage, not to hurt people. Behave yourself. So Rabbi is focusing on Chizuk HaEmunah, that there's Sachar Va'onesh, and Akavya B'Mahalalel is looking at it from a different angle. Akavya B'Mahalalel, by telling us where we come from, where we're headed. He's not telling us about, remember, there's somebody looking at you. Here he's telling us, think about the human experience. He's talking to a guy who's totally perhaps not religious, who's totally distant. Did you ever think about life? What is life for? What did Hashem put you here for? What does He need it for? What does Hashem need this experiment for? Did you ever think about where you came from, where you're headed? So this is more of a question of life. What is the human being for? What does Hashem need him for? He's very special, this human being. Yes, very special. I know, but what does He need it for? So here he's getting us, he's awakening, he's provoking the non-believer, or the one who's weak also, to begin to think. And as a result of all this thinking, of course, he will stay away from trouble, he will hopefully get to do the right thing. But it's much more to provoke him, to get him to think about the purpose of life. Whereas Rabbi was more about Chizuk HaEmunah. Don't forget, there's accountability. Somebody's looking at what you're doing and overhearing what you said. And here it's more to get the person to think, wait a minute, what's this life all about? Just to work and sleep and eat? I mean, come on. So where do we come from? You came from nothing. Why say something like that? Why say something from nothing? Well, besides getting the person to think, when you remind the big shot, right? When you remind him that he's from a Tipas Ruchan and where he's headed, maybe this will help him with not being such a big shot. In other words, a lot of people are arrogant. A lot of people are so self-confident that they don't think about the hashgacha of Hashem in their life. They don't see that Hashem is the one that helps. Hashem is involved. They don't see it. Why do you think Yom Kippur War was not as successful as the 6-day war in Israel? 6-day war, 6 days, we were done with all the armies around us. Tremendous miracles. Yom Kippur, a couple years later, unfortunately many casualties, poor intelligence, mistakes, and at the end, Baruch Hashem, of course, protected us and saved the day. But why? So a lot of big rabbis explain, because we were overconfident. We have the best Air Force, best pilots. Look, where's Hashem? Where's Hashem? Why don't you say, Odul Hashem Kitov, Kilo Olam Chazdo, say Hallel. Thank Hashem. Yeah, obviously, not all of them were religious, but they went to the Kotel HaMaravi, they saw some connection. So at first, there was euphoria, and there was an et ratzon. Some Mekubalim even say Mashiach could have come then. Yeah, we're very close to that. We liberated Yerushalayim. That's very, very close, yeah. The Zohar says there are various times that are propitious for Mashiach to come, but if we catch it, they didn't catch it enough. Chaval. So Mashiach is taking longer and longer. So here, Akavya Mehalel is reminding those people who have a problem with Kinat, Tava, and Kavod, Shemotzim et Adam el Olam. These are three characteristics that can cause trouble to a person. Kinah, jealousy, envy, right? Tava, the desires, and kavod, the pursuit of honor, or gava, which is similar. These things ruin people's life. So by reminding or focusing also on where we come from a nothing, and where we headed to give an accounting for our deeds, hopefully that will also bring about some anava, some humbleness. Akavya b'mahalalel, in trying to convince the non-believer or the one who's distant from these thoughts to think, is also trying to emphasize the following. Thinking about the human being is a very, very fascinating thing. Because on the one hand, if you look at the human being, he's so different than an animal. He has all these mental faculties, all these abilities with his mind. He can be spiritual, he can be loving, he can be kind and generous. There's so many abilities that come from the heart and mind together that it's so different than an animal. An animal is basically instincts. Of course, the mother bear, the mother lion cares about her cubs. Of course. But that's pretty much it. They don't make decisions. They don't have to think about, well, should I help that fellow lion? On the contrary, it's mine. Don't you dare come and take it. So here the human being is so different. His experience in life and his abilities are not what the animal has. Wait a minute, okay. Now if this human being, all that Hashem wants of him is to live in this olam hazeh and to survive, then why doesn't he have the eyes of an eagle? Why doesn't he have the strength of a lion? Why doesn't he have the speed of an impala, of a deer? If the whole idea is for the human being to survive in this world, to function and operate, if that is his whole purpose, then all those faculties that he has does not make sense. What does he need it for? What does he really need it for? And if it's only olam hazeh, then and that's all we're talking about is survival here, then why doesn't he have the best kit of tools to survive like all the animals do? But we see that the human being is destined for something else apparently. So if you begin to think, and that's what he's trying to do, to tell us to do, think how we are different than animals, where you come from, where you're headed. And number 3, that's the ultimate goal. All that you have and what you've been given here is, in order for you to get to the next step, is to give an accounting of all that you have accomplished. In other words, there is something in the human being that animals don't have, and that's called responsibilities. We are responsible. Because of all that we have that is different than them, obviously this is intended not for olam hazeh. It's intended in order for us to get to olam haba, in order to impress upon HaKadosh Baruch Hu that here we're doing something constructive for your world with all that you have given us. Hashem has given us something. Why don't we use it? So it's not just olam hazeh. There's something in the human being that is ruchani, that's his neshama. And that is why he has these abilities as a result of this neshama. But these abilities are not for here, not just for this world. We come and we go. It doesn't make sense then to give us all those abilities, all this sechel. What for? If it's not to serve Hashem. It must be that this is to serve Hashem. So our job is different than the animal. Animals are serving Hashem too in their way. But a man is more elevated than an animal, and obviously then he must have a different destiny, a different goal than the animal. So that's the importance of this Mishnah in getting the person to think a little bit about his tachlit. All right, when you make an accounting or when you make a din v'cheshbon of what you've done, what are you supposed to think about? This din v'cheshbon is obviously something that we'll be giving over there. But this din v'cheshbon can also be done here. A person should do, from time to time, a din v'cheshbon himself, a cheshbon ha-nefesh. What's this din v'cheshbon all about? What's the difference between din and cheshbon? It means the same thing approximately, an accounting. We will be giving an accounting there, and in reality, we should prepare ourselves down here. and figure out ourselves a din v'cheshbon about our own deeds. So what's din v'cheshbon? So there's two interpretations. Din means what we did wrong. Din, justice. And cheshbon means all the good things that we did that were not done the way they should have been done. A person can buy a lulav and etrog. Just give me the cheapest etrog you have. What an attitude. There are people who say, I want the best. I'm willing to pay more. Look at the difference between these two people fulfilling the same mitzvah. So that's where you have cheshbon. Cheshbon is taking into account how you could have done things better. You could have done better kibud avayim for your parents. You could have taken them, take care of them better, but you ignored them. You threw them into an old age home. Shem Yishmor. Now some people, of course, cannot handle it. Now, if you cannot handle it, you don't want to do it, because then you may be chas v'shalom guilty of not doing things right with your own parents. Then you need professional help. But kibud avayim is a very sensitive area with one's parents. Same thing with other things in life too. Somebody comes to your door, and you give him some money for tzedakah, and you criticize him. You would have been better off not giving him money, not criticizing him. So all of this is a cheshbon of what we did that perhaps we didn't do the way we should have done it. That's one pirush. The Gaon of Vilna, I think we've already covered it before too, when we spoke about it in Perek Bet. He says din v'cheshbon is din, what we did wrong. Cheshbon, what we could have done during that time that we were doing something bad. Right? Somebody did something not right. During those 10, 15 minutes were now that he did something not right, he could have been doing something good. What a waste of time. So therefore, din v'cheshbon is a very, very powerful thought that is not only something that we will have to give there, but even now, think about it, evaluate. We need to reevaluate our actions from time to time. Where do they need fixing? Most of you, I think, here know what alignment is in a car. Right? How do you know your car needs alignment?
From your tires.
How do you know from your tires?
Driving.
First from the tire. How do you know from the tires?
It's not that worn
Inwards.
Huh?
It's worn inwards too much.
Inwards, right. Okay. Or
Driving.
driving. Yeah? It's pulling you more in one direction. When you get new tires, it's a good thing to check it out. Now, why? Why is it so important? Not just because of the tires. You spend more gas. It has an effect on your mileage. Bad alignment. So here there are things that remind you or that can tell you that you need alignment, but you have to be aware of it. You got to pay attention, or you got to inspect your tires. You know, sometimes people they still have a good tire. The thread is still good, but the tire is completely worn on the sides, and that's dangerous. You know, because then the whole thing can explode or can peel off. There's various things that can happen to a tire that is falling apart in different areas. So one who is aware of these things, hopefully takes care of it, because it's chaval not to take care of it, and better early on than later. So in the same way that people can become aware of these mundane things, the same is true with life in general. You know, a person has to examine himself and says, well, what's wrong? Out of 10 phone calls that I get about something wrong, they tell me, can you check if I have an ayin hara? Why check ayin hara first? There is a possibility of an ayin hara, an evil eye, causing some trouble. But usually there's a whole other list of things that it could be, including mazal. Including that just a person's mazal is no good. I have a case now, unfortunately. Person was married, young guy, married for just about a year. Just about a year, give or take. He had a little girl, and she asked for a divorce. And he gave it to her, of course. He didn't want to. He felt that, you know, marriage is about trying. He had the right thoughts. He was doing so much for the marriage, and she was doing nothing, based on his side of the story. I didn't hear her side of the story, but I have reason to believe that most of it is true. And unfortunately, this is a case that there's very little you can do about to repair it. It's when there's no cooperation, when one does everything, the other one is not interested. What are you going to do? Now, why isn't the other one interested? All kinds of possibilities with the upbringing, abuse, psychological problems, ADD they call it, bipolars, huh? All kinds of things that exist. Hashem Yishmor, what can you do? Now, poor fellow, right? The guy is also struggling with parnasah. He's about to be evicted. What are you supposed to tell this guy? Say Tehillim? There's nothing you can do. That's part of the mazal. That's called mazal. And that's not Ain Hara. It's not because he doesn't keep Shabbat. It's not because of a kitrug upstairs. Now, we don't know for sure. I'm not claiming that we know the reasons. I'm just saying what most likely it's not. It doesn't have to do with Ain Hara. Don't blame Ain Hara. Don't blame who knows what. It could just be that's his mazal. Some people's mazal is not so good. That's their. Now, why do people have such a mazal? Mishamayim. It's a tikkun. Can't hold on to a job. In marriage, it doesn't go well. Married 1, 2, 3 times, 2, 3, 4 divorces. Just something happens. Something goes wrong. Nothing to do with Ain Hara, nothing to do with kishuf, witchcraft. It's just bad mazal. There are still people who have great mazal, good mazal. They just know when to buy the stock. The next day it goes up. They know when to sell it. The next day it went down. Right? They buy real estate. Everything they touch becomes gold, as they say. And in marriage too, they have a beautiful marriage, very devoted wife. Not everybody has everything, you should know. Some people have good mazal, but the kids are very difficult. Some people have great kids, but the economy, the business is not too good. Not everybody has it good all the way, and not everybody is supposed to have it bad all the way. There's always supposed to be something good. If somebody has a lot of bad happening in his life, you should know that it's not mazal, it's kitrug, it's an accusation, chas v'shalom. The person did something terribly wrong, and he's getting punished for it right now. They don't wait for it later on. They do it right now, because it must be something very, very bad. But usually people have all kinds of mazal. So you have to look at what's functioning, at least what's functioning right, what's going on right, and maximize it. You can't deal with the rest of it. If it's just not going as well as much as you would like it, pray to Hashem that He should change the mazal. Maybe that will happen because we're above the mazal. Am Yisrael is above. We can change it possibly if Hashem thinks it's a good idea for it to be changed. Hashem says sometimes you're better off this way, but we don't know, so we try. We say Tehillim, we pray, we add a name. If somebody is sick, yes, we do whatever we can. But these are things beyond our control. We have to focus on what's in our control. In our control are certain decisions that relate to effort. You have to make an effort. You can't say, oh, I'm having bad mazal, so I'm not going to work. I'm sitting at home. You can't say that. Maybe today you're going to meet someone. Even if you didn't make money, you're going to meet someone. You're going to speak to him. And somehow this connection will be a great investment for you or for him or for the two of you 5 years from now. What do we know? Everything is possible. It could be for shidduch. It could be for business opportunity. It could be that because you spoke to him, he became more interested in Judaism. It could be that because you spoke to him, his wife's brother-in-law will somehow help you in some way. Yeah, what do we know? Hashem has many ways, mysterious ways of doing all kinds of things. So we can't sit back and say, no, I'm not going to the store, I'm not opening up the business is bad. You got to make an effort. You got to try everything that's possible and not sit back and do nothing. That's no good. Batala, to sit and do nothing, is a big avon. It brings a person to boredom and to depression, sadness, and that's so unhealthy. And that's a person's choice. He decided to be like that. Hashem is not telling people to be bored and disappointed and upset. Why be upset? Ezo Ashir, Sameach Becheko, be happy that Hashem gave you life, that you breathe, and that you're not on dialysis, and you're not missing a leg or two. There's always what to be thankful about. And that is why Chachamim gave us berachot. Asher yatzar, shakol niya bidvaro. Be thankful, be grateful, right? And when a person thinks about these things, it gives him a little bit of encouragement. Oh, at least Baruch Hashem gave me this. Let me see how to best use it. But if a person only thinks about the negative, the bad, and he blames Ain Hara, and he blames everything, he blames the whole world except for himself, it's not a good thing. Anyway, Hashem wants a connection with us. A connection is very, very important with Hashem, and that connection comes about through tefillah. It comes about through kiyum hamitzvot, and it comes about through thinking. Thinking, as some Hasidim do, through hitbodedut and hitbonenut, like Breslav and others. They spend some time in the forest or in their balcony. They don't have a forest next door, so they go to the backyard just to think and focus about themselves, to talk it over with others. That's also good. It's healthy. A person cannot just be by himself. It's impossible. No matter how smart and strong you are, to be by yourself, you cannot be. So you talk things over, talk to Hashem in your language, talk it over with others who can understand you, and in this way, get it out of the system, get out whatever is bothering you. So here, in thinking about these ideas, it's supposed to be a very powerful tool. He tells us, this will help you not come to Avirah. You can translate the word Avirah, trouble. It doesn't have to be sin. It will keep you out of trouble if you think about life, if you think about what comes after life. There's going to be a din v'cheshbon about what you did and what you did not do in life. All right. How many people think about these things? Not too many people. So Shlomo Melech tells us in Kohelet, remember when we learned Kohelet, we spoke about it at length, how tov lalechet lebet evel milechet lebet mishteh. That sometimes you're better off going to a house of mourning than to a party. It's a big mitzvah, perhaps, a seudat mitzvah. We're talking about seudat mitzvah, not just a birthday party. But the evel, if you don't have a choice to do it tomorrow, you may be able to do it tomorrow, do both. But the evel, the house of mourning, when you go to his home and comfort him, you're not only doing a mitzvah, those of us who are still alive and we are seeing this guy just died. We're talking about a young guy or a tragedy. It will awaken in us, wow, this can happen to anyone. If you think about it. All of a sudden he didn't wake up. All of a sudden his heart stopped. It happens. All of a sudden a stroke. All of a sudden, Hashem Yishmor, he had a blood vessel in the brain that burst. Aneurysm, thank you, aneurysm. A different kind of, a stroke. It's a kind of a stroke. It can happen like that. Young people too. Chaz v'shalom. So you go to the Bet Evel and you say to yourself, wow. Don't think that just because you have good genes it can't happen. Everything's mishamayim, right? So these are opportunities to force a person to think. So if we don't do it on our own, Kohelet says, sometimes you may come to it, and it's a good thing if you do, through a Bet Evel, by going through a house of mourning. Rabbi Eliezer, in the Gemara, is brought down that before he passed away, his students came to him. They asked him for his last words of advice and blessing. And he said, Yehi ratzon shetiyeh morah shamayim alechem kimorah basar v'dam. Halevai, I just wish for you that your fear for heaven should be as much as your fear for human beings, for the police, for authorities. He says, Rabbi, that's it? The Rabbi says, that's enough. If the human being would have enough fear of Yom Hadin, of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the way he has fear from a robber, from the police, from a court, right? That he's already shaking. Oh, it's going to cost him so much with the attorneys and the jury and this. If the Jew would only have that much fear from Hashem, he would be okay. He would be okay. So the problem is, people don't have that level of fear. Not everybody does. They have perhaps busha. They are ashamed to do a certain averot. But if the people wouldn't look at them, they would maybe do it because the fear is lacking. So how do you bring about fear? Also, by thinking about these things. Wait a minute, I'm accountable. I'm a human being. I'm the crown of creation. I have responsibilities. I'm not just, a bunch of instincts. I'm born like that. No. You may have netiyot, you may have tendencies, but you have the ability to conquer them, to control them through the Yetzer Tov, which is a conscience. But how are you going to feed that conscience? By learning. Obviously, the Yetzer Tov needs fuel too. It's not just there. He needs fuel. The Yetzer Hara has its own fuel, the bodily needs. The Yetzer Tov needs fuel too. That's, of course, what stimulates the neshama. The inspiration that we get from reading stories about tzaddikim, reading about miracles. Do you know that this motivates? It inspires people. It makes them feel good. It says, "Wow, look at the Hashgacha, look at the great miracle. Look at this. How could it have happened without Hashem's involvement?" So this motivates. It's inspiring. So if one does not have a way to connect to reality, he's never going to be in reality. So that is why Rabbi Eliezer told him, Alevai, your fear for Hashem should be like the fear of a human being. Work on that. Work on just developing that kind of fear. So I always remind people how important it is to learn Sifrei Musar, read about tzaddikim, their life stories, so in order that we should be able to draw some inspiration and remind ourselves of what we need to do or what we're not doing right. But be careful when you learn Sifrei Musar not to become too sad and broken about it. Because a person is going to say, well, I have this and I have that, I have all this problem. Don't get distressed by it. Because we have a very, very, very important tradition that Hashem is always out there to help those who want to help themselves. If you don't help yourself, Hashem says, I'm not going to help you either. First, help yourself. Try. Pray to me. Ask me. And make an effort. The Chafetz Chaim always used to make fun. And not make fun, but he would criticize, ridicule people who every day they tell Hashem, Tem belibenu, give it into, lavin, lahaskil. We want, please put it into our heart. Help us, enable us to learn your Torah, right? So we should be able to serve you. And the Chafetz Chaim says, imagine somebody who came to a rich man. Can you lend me some money? I'm really desperate. Yes, sure, definitely. How much do you need? Whatever, so much. Come and see me tomorrow at 2 o'clock in the afternoon in my office. Okay. Next day, he waits for him, he doesn't come. He meets up with him at the Bet HaKnesset in Ha'arvit. I'm a little desperate. He says, where were you? I was waiting for you at 2 o'clock. I couldn't make it. So come tomorrow, 3 o'clock, okay? Okay, see you tomorrow at 3 o'clock. Doesn't come. So the guy figured maybe something's wrong. Maybe, I don't know, he had an emergency. He meets him in Ha'arvit again. Says, you know what, I'm really desperate. Please help me. I was waiting for you yesterday. I waited for you today. You told me you would come. You didn't come. No, tomorrow I'll come. Okay, tomorrow, make sure you come. I'll wait for you again. Doesn't come tomorrow. Comes to Mincha Arvit. My situation is terrible. If you don't help me, I don't know. He says, get lost. I don't want to hear about you. Don't tell me your stories. If you would be really serious, you would have come already by now. Right? How do you explain it? So the Chafetz Chaim says, this guy is praying to me, Hashem, please give me. Help me. Hashem says, fine. Come to the shiur. Come to the Bet HaKnesset. Come to the Bet Midrash. Sit down and learn, and I'll help you. Okay, Hashem, I promise. Doesn't come. Next day he prays again. Hashem, Tem belibenu. Lavin. Hashem says, come on. You said you'd come yesterday. You didn't come. I'm ready to help you. I want to help you. Tomorrow. Doesn't come. After a while, Hashem says, this guy's not serious. He's just saying words. Tem belibenu. Lavin, laskil, lishmor, lilmod, lamed, lishmor, v'la'asod. He's just saying words. He doesn't really mean it. If a person really means it, he makes an effort. He comes. Then Hashem helps. Hashem, I want to make my kitchen kasher. I want to really start all over. I want to, B'ezrat Hashem, get married. Really? Okay. Make an effort. If you make an effort, I'll send you the right people. Get you the contacts. Whether it's for kashrut, whether it's for learning how to build a Jewish home, family purity, whether it's Shabbat, whether it's marriage, whether it's Shalom Bayit, whether it's how to raise children, whether it's how to, perform a certain mitzvah that you don't know. Hashem will make the meeting happen with the people that can help. But the effort has to be made. Next Mishnah. Rabbi Hanina Sgan HaKohanim Omer. הווי מתפלל בשלומה של מלכות שלמלא מוראה, איש את רעהו חיים בלעו. Pray for the welfare of the government, that the government should last, the government should be strong, that they should win their battles, that the economy should be good, that they should succeed. Why? Because if there would be no government, there would be anarchy. Shilmale mora'ah, everybody knows what anarchy is, right? If there would be no fear of government, no police force, no judicial system, ish et re'u haim bela'o. Everyone would swallow each other alive. Baruch Hashem. Remember the riot, those of you who were here? Well, in this neighborhood it wasn't so bad, but in some places it was terrible. Anarchy. For a little while there was anarchy. We have to pray for the government. You know, the idea of praying for the government is because apparently, what are we saying by praying? That we believe that the prayer can make a difference. Why just pray for that? Well, I mean, pray for the government? I mean, there's other things that we can pray for, personal needs. Is this something that we really should pray for? I mean, apparently, if we're praying for it, it can make a difference. Why is there such an emphasis on this? Yes, of course, we need a police force, but why pray for it? Hashem, first of all, is telling us prayer can make a difference. Don't take anything for granted. Because you know what? Malchut is not something that comes about through elections, like you think it does. People vote. Yes, people vote. But who becomes president? Who becomes prime minister? Whoever Hashem chose. Not only whoever Hashem chose, even the human being that Hashem chose is good, Hashem can change him to be bad. He's bad, Hashem can make him do good, certain things. Not to change the whole personality, but certain actions. Why? As the Pasuk says in Mishlei, Led melachim v'sarim biyad Hashem. The hearts of kings and princes is in the hands of God. He moves them, He manipulates them. Otherwise we would have had nuclear war by now. Somebody would have pressed the button. Khrushchev was upset. He banged his shoe on the podium in the United Nations. Yeah, if you know about it. He banged his shoe to get everybody to pay attention. So why didn't he press the button? Why didn't he throw a missile from Cuba? Somehow Kennedy discouraged them. You think just Kennedy did it? No, Kadosh Baruch Hu said, it's not time for this war. There's no need for this war. Otherwise, human beings can make mistakes, but Hashem is in charge. So by praying lemalchut, we remind ourselves how everything is b'dei shamayim, even the malchut, and that prayer can make a difference. Therefore, that there should be a good king, a good gezerot, good decrees, good laws. Otherwise, you can have an imam. You know what an imam is? Yeah, you can have an imam or a qadi or a sheikh who is crazy, and all of a sudden he gets the mobs against the Jews. This has happened many times. Or it could be a bishop, it could be a priest. This has happened. The Inquisition almost did not happen had it not been for one Yimach Shemo. I don't even want to mention his name. Begins with a T, who is a very powerful bishop or cardinal, whatever, I forget already. And he was very upset at the Queen. And he basically said, don't listen to the Jews. Don't accept their bribes. Don't let you be convinced by what they're saying. He threatened, they got to be expelled, or they got to be killed, or they got to be converted. And he was very adamant about it. Gezerah min hashamayim, for them to leave Spain, later Portugal. So Rabbi Hanina Sgan HaKohanim tells us it's important to pray, and that is why there's a minhag. Some communities have a minhag, that they do have a prayer for the government, for the Malchut, right? On Shabbat, it is a prayer that is said. For those who don't understand how significant this is, we think that people are not changeable. Just look at Germany. Germany was a civilized country. Many people went to orchestras. Tremendous amount of culture there in Germany of the 19th and 20th century. But look what happens. They became worse than animals. The human being has the ability to be worse than an animal. Culture will not make the difference. Here you have an example of the culture of almost overnight a nation turning around and doing some despicable, terrible crimes against humanity, not just against Jews, against humanity as a whole. Terrible. It just reminds us what the human being is, how dangerous he could be. So tefillah is always, always a very powerful tool to reach Hashem and ask even for something like this, that there should be shalom in the malchut. Next, Rabbi Hanina ben Taradion Omer, Shnayim sheyoshvim be'binehem divrei Torah, two that are sitting amongst themselves and there's no Torah between them, harei ze moshav letzim. That is an assembly of clowns or mockers or scoffers, whichever you prefer word you choose. A letz is not a serious person. A letz makes fun of everything. A letz is dangerous because he cools other people off who are enthusiastic and excited about something. A moshav letzim is a terrible thing because a moshav means people have gathered for something which has nothing to do with the tachlit of life. A complete waste of time. Their conversation and whatever it is that they're doing is not healthy. That's called the moshav of letzim. So people who are just sitting playing sheshbesh, right? As an example, and there's no divrei Torah exchanged a little bit of something. And it's like a moshav letzim. Shene'emaru b'moshav letzim lo yashav. That's how Tehillim begins. Ashrei Adam. A person should be very, very careful not to spend time just with vanities or with people who are not serious. They can influence him, and he will not succeed in influencing them because they are letzim. A person who's a letz is very difficult to convince. He makes fun of everything. A person that makes fun of everything, you think you can teach him? He's already made up his mind. He has such a terrible attitude that how is any criticism going to help him? Two that are sitting, and there's Torah between them, the Shekhinah is between them. שנאמר אז נדברו יראי השם מי שרעהו ויקשב השם וישמע ויקטב ספר זיכרון לפניו יראי השם וחושב שמו. Beautiful, powerful pasuk in Malachi, the last of the Nevi'im, who talks a little bit about the end of times in this pasuk, that in the end of days Hashem will be proud to listen to those few individuals who will still be around speaking words of Torah, performing mitzvot, ulechoshvei shemo, even those who are not necessarily doing something of a mitzvah, but they think about Him. They have Hashem in mind. That's called choshvei shemo. So those who will be yirei Hashem, God-fearing, and they will be az nidberu, talking to each other. Hashem listens, and Hashem will write down and document what they have said. So this should be for their credit, not only in Olam Haba, but even in Yemot HaMashiach, that this should spare them from the tribulations. Very powerful words of Malachi. So here he uses this pasuk to prove to us that whenever there are even two people learning Torah, the Shekhinah is there. The Shekhinah is present wherever there is Torah. So the Mishnah says, "Eni ela shnayim, minayin shefilu echad sheyoshev v'osek b'Torah shekadosh baruch hu kovea lo schar." How do I know even if one is by himself? What do you mean one by himself? Because two is better than one. The more you have, the better. Larger group. That's the importance of minyan. There's more kedusha. Two chavruta. Two people learn together. One can find the other's mistake. One guy by himself can fall asleep. Two, not so easily. So two is always better. But he says, don't feel bad if you're by yourself. Right? You're by yourself. There's no chavruta. Or for whatever reason, you're someplace where there isn't anybody else. Even if you're by yourself, you'll say, Torah, HaKadosh Baruch Hu kovea lo sachar, Hashem will reward you. Shene'emar yoshev badad v'yidom ki natal alav. Even if he's by himself, ki natal alav, he will take the reward. This Rabbi Hanina ben Taradion lived during the time of the Romans. You know that he was burnt alive. He was burned holding on to a Sefer Torah. He was caught teaching Torah. And he knew that it was dangerous to teach Torah. It was a Roman decree not to. He says, I can't afford not to teach Torah. They can burn our bodies, they cannot burn our souls. Even if they burn our bodies, chas v'shalom, the soul will survive. But the soul cannot survive without Torah. Just like the body needs food, the neshama needs its food. This is the fuel of the neshama. So he gave his life for this. So this Rabbi Hanina ben Taradion is talking about the learning of the Torah, how important it is, how a Jew cannot be without it. A Jew without it, even if he does not do averot, no sins, because he's a nice guy, a nice gentleman, good soul, but it's like he's dead, he's inactive. There's no Torah. his neshama is not being stimulated. It's chaval, and the Shekhinah is not there. So he puts a tremendous importance on learning Torah, and of course, in order to achieve that, stay away from those who are exactly opposed to that, and that is the Moshav Letzim. Last Mishnah, these are all similar, but each one has an additional point. Rabbi Shimon Omer, the third Mishnah, Shlosha shachlu al shulchan echad velo amru alav divrei Torah, 3 people that ate on the table, and they did not say any divrei Torah. And by the way, even lam natseach, at the very least, it's called something of Torah. But something, especially Shabbat table, one should try to say a chidush, read something from a book if he does not know on his own, ask a child to read or say something what you learned in school. All of that constitutes as divrei Torah. The table should not only be about food. The table should not only be about jokes, about the lashon hara, for sure not. It should be about something special. And what better way to sanctify the food than to put Torah there too? Not just berachot, which is special, not just the kiddush, not only birkat hamazon, of course, which is all important, but also some Torah. Rabbi Shimon Omer Shlosha shachlu shulchan echad velo amru alav divrei Torah. If they did not say divrei Torah, kilu achlu mizivchem metim. It's like they ate from sacrifices being brought for idols. Sheneemar ki kol shulchanot maleu kitzoam bli makom. Yeshayahu is very upset at Am Yisrael and says all their tables are full of the manure. In other words, he looks down at their sacrifices because they're not sincere. So it's like the dirt of the animals. But 3 that ate on one table and they said divrei Torah, כאילו אכלו משולחנו של מקום ברוך הוא. It's like they ate from the table of Hashem, שנאמר, וידבר אליי זה השולחן אשר לפני השם. This is the table before Hashem. Here the emphasis is on Torah at the table. We learned about the importance of Torah in the previous Mishnah, but here Rabbi Shimon adds, no, at the table. Don't forget, you're eating, you may forget, the greatest food, the best. You're all excited about it. No, we don't live to eat, right? We eat to live. So we should say, you see the big difference? We need to eat. But that's not the goal. Rush and eat and eat and eat again and again. Why eat so much, right? Just eat what you need. We need to subsist. We need to exist, right? But to make this a big fanfare, a big event, no, that's not right. People get upset. Not enough salt. Instead of complaining, go add it yourself. It's not a good thing, especially between husband and wife, to make a point about certain things when the other person might feel offended, feel bad. Sometimes it's better, more mannerly and more tactful, and definitely the correct thing to do, the wise thing to do, is not to comment about it. And what if she asks you, how is it? The greatest soup you ever made. And you think it could use a little bit more salt. For Shlom Bayit, you're allowed to lie, by the way. It's okay. You're going to gain a few minutes of peace and quiet. It's a good thing. Compliment, and we don't do that enough. So here, we're not talking about just compliments. We're talking about divrei Torah la shulchan, which is also for the purpose of sanctifying the meal, reminding ourselves that when people come together, it's not just for the letzim chas v'shalom. It's for talking about meaningful things. And even when we eat, which is something for our body, something which is physical, even then, we don't forget about the ikar. So when you learn Torah, it makes a big difference on this food. How does it make a difference? So he says, if there's no Torah, it's like for the dead. It's like for the idols. What kind of a comparison is that? The reason why he uses idols, because idols don't have anything, right? They don't do anything for you. It's just like dead. When a person does not have Torah, he's like focused on that which is dead, on that which is physical, on that which is totally not important, the body. It's like he's forgetting about the Hashgacha of Hashem, that Hashem gave him the food, that Hashem Baruch Hashem gave him life. For a moment, if there's no Torah at the table and only food for the belly, it's like you're thinking about the dead. You're thinking about zivchei metim, thinking about idols, thinking about something that has no real worth. Whereas if a person learns Torah, or says words of Torah at the table, then at least he gives this kedusha. So in order for us not only to be satisfied physically, but to be satisfied spiritually, for the neshama to receive something, it's definitely a good idea to say words of Torah. And that is why he finishes up over here that shlosha she'achlu shulchan echad b'molav Torah. But why 3? Anybody know why 3? Why would he say 3?
Because 3 can make a zimun.
Exactly. Perhaps once you have 3, you can make a zimun. And what does zimun mean? Let's get together. Zimun means to invite. Havlan v'nivrich. Let's come together to bless Hashem. 3 has a tremendous koach. 3 has more sanctity. So obviously, even 1 can learn Torah, we said before. Even 2 is okay. But here 3, once you have 3, you have zimun. Once you have more than 3, of course, you're going to continue to have zimun. You have 10, you even have the Shem Hashem. The whole idea here is that the more people that are involved, the stronger it is, the more impressive it is, the more Kiddush Hashem it is. That is why it is critical, it is really critical, wherever there is a larger group of Jews, that there should be a Kiddush Hashem, a wedding, all this belly dancing at some places. Hashem Yishmor. Not only is it a sin, not only is it a lack of tzniut, it's also it's not a good taste. It's also chas v'shalom, a lost opportunity of Kiddush Hashem. Imagine if something could be done for Kiddush Hashem. What opportunity! You have so many people present. You have a lot of people present. Use that opportunity to be Mekadosh Hashem. That is why there's being emphasis here, being put on learning Torah at the table. Yeah, I'm occupied now with eating. Chaz v'shalom. It's not just about eating. Even when you need to eat, and you need to eat for your body, don't forget about Hashem. So that is the idea of saying Divrei Torah, even when you're doing it for yourself. You don't forget about Hashem. Hashem's involvement in our life, Hashem's hashgacha in our life. And of course, even the food itself is not just for the eating that I'm doing it. I'm doing it because I want to continue to be healthy, to serve Hashem. So I give him a beracha before, to recognize where the food came from. I give him a beracha after I finish eating it, to thank him for it. I don't take anything for granted. And last but not least, let's not forget that the Yetzer Hara is tied to food. Remember, the Yetzer Hara can catch on to the person through the physical, through the pleasures, anything related to the body. So if you eat, and only eat, and not think of Hashem, that is a petach, an opening where the Yetzer Hara can come in. And enjoy yourself. You're going to fall asleep, of course, after a big cholent or chamin, right? And other things too. You're going to have a beer maybe. Well, that's okay. But if that's all that happens, it's what a chavala. It's a petach for the Yetzer Hara to weaken the person, to weaken the person's connection, the Jew's connection to Hashem. That is what Rabbi Shimon says on the table. Make sure you learn Torah, so that you don't give the Yetzer the koach to open up this petach any more than it is open, that it has to be open. Give Torah, put Torah on the table, so B'ezrat Hashem, your neshama should always be the one in control. Thank you.
Amen.
Okay.